How do you rise above the place of judgment of others to simply be aware? Now, if you were to scan human history, and then if you were to scan the present moment of humanity, there are many things that would fall under this idea of judgment. I simply can't abide by that. I can't tolerate that. That's unjust. These people are unjust. They're evil people. I'm against them. They're my opponents. We understand this has been going on for all human history. But in that moment, you need to be right, and often you need to be superior to the ones that you judge. And this is not awareness. Awareness, like you did with yourself, will just have the courage to look into and try to understand. And in that, there's some liberation. It's easy to cop out and say, why does this suffering, why does this evil, why does this injustice exist? It's just human nature. That's the way it's been, that's the way it's always been. Just load up your rifles and let's go hunting. But the point of the issue is there's a reason. And the wiser choice is to seek understanding, but also the wiser choice is to be free to the anchor of judgment that will take you down and not allow you to fly to the heights of your own human evolution. To be the best and most beautiful thing that you're created, capable of being within this lifetime. And that itself is not a moment in time, that itself is a constant evolving process. But will you reach for it? Part of the ability to fly that high is when we disengage from the need of having enemies and opponents, which means disengaging from the need to judge. I look at this world almost like a giant video game with many levels that people are going through in their lesson plan. And all of them are available. And every one offers an opportunity to learn and grow. Now I could say, but some people don't take the opportunity to learn and grow. Let me ask you, if you think like me, how do we know? How do we really know what's going on in the heart of another person? The ability to say, I don't know, also invites the ability to look and to be aware. So the saying that we were reflecting on today, did anyone look at the saying that I sent out that we would reflect on today? Does anyone have it where they could actually read it? I can look it up on my thing as well. I just don't want to misquote myself. Okay, I have it. Okay. Choose your opponents carefully. Your life will never rise above that which you oppose. Therefore, let go of the need for opposition and fly to creative heights your opponents will never know. It's amazing to me how even the most good-hearted and aware people end up falling into the need of having opponents. And then, therefore, they need to tell them how to live, or they become against them. And they also become against even the also good-hearted, well-meaning people. When people aren't like that, it's easier to discern. We always fall back on Hitler, right? Yeah, but what about Hitler? You're going to accept Hitler? Hitler's our go-to guy for the argument, right? But the point being, that's much easier to discern. But do you really need to energetically create a vibration of hatred in order to be aware of something that is obviously wrong and not desirable? Do you really need to judge and put yourself above just to be aware of the spectrum of humanity, which existed before and exists today? One of the reasons why I probably wrote this and why I brought it up for today is I've noticed as I unhook those hooks, how much freer I am to be able to creatively create the life that I'm here to create. I find it much more joyful to look for allies and friends than spend my time for looking for opponents and enemies. And my opponents to me are very similar to those undesirable aspects of myself. Undesirable because when I follow those aspects, I end up not being happy. But I rather say than, look what a horrible person I am, I rather look and say, oh, I'm glad I got a chance to figure out who I don't want to be. Arigato, sensei. So it means thank you, teacher. And I don't know how to say it in Chinese yet, so you just have to accept the Japanese. Plus, it sounds cool, like everything in Japanese sounds cool, right? Zen, dojo. But anyways, arigato, sensei. Everything becomes your teacher. Then also don't those who call your opponents become your teacher, or at least the opportunity exists. Thank you for showing me what I don't want to be. That's different than you're an asshole. It may be true. All I'm saying is you don't really know, because human beings are complicated. There's ambiguity in being human. And you never know the moment a person, quote, sees the light or falls into darkness. It flickers in our journey. Sitai Gong set me versus Claudio and Claudio versus me. So apparently he was my opponent a lot, and I was his opponent a lot. And he used every psychological thing to get us to, quotes, compete against each other. Claudio, he'd tell Claudio to make up a move, and then Claudio would do it, and then he'd look at me and says, top that. And I would do my best, I'd take it up a notch, then he'd look at Claudio and go, top that. Now, his intention was not to make us opponents, and honestly, if you ask Claudio today, and if you ask me, he's not my opponent. He's my friend. He's my brother. But we use this idea to propel us to higher levels of our self-expression, and also to lift the class to higher levels of self-expression. Therefore, him as an opponent was my greatest liberator, and vice versa. And then it leads us to the inevitable. There is no opponent. The only opponent is in yourself. You're the greatest opponent you have, and you have to be liberated from the one that imagines opponents. But you'll never rise above that which you feel the need to oppose. Therefore, let go of the need for opposition and fly to creative heights your opponents will never know.